Your heart beats once every 20 minutes, but your brain is screaming at 100 miles an hour. You are a prisoner in a suit of cooling glass, trapped behind your own eyes while the world turns into a silent gallery of living statues. This is the reality of the carbon freeze, a sudden, inexplicable stutter in the fundamental resonance of the carbon atom that has turned every living thing into a monument of slow-motion agony. It wasn't a bang or a flash. It was a whisper of resistance in the joints of the world, a thickening of the air until a single breath takes the better part of an afternoon to complete. For every creature built from the backbone of carbon, time has become a suffocating, gelatinous weight, a prison of stillness where the mind remains terrifyingly fast, a frantic bird trapped in a cage of cooling stone. The morning the freeze began, the rhythm of the planet simply failed. Across the Serengeti, a cheetah mid-sprint found its powerful legs turning to lead, its body leaning into a sharp turn that will now take 48 hours to clear. In the Pacific, schools of tuna froze in mid-shimmer, transforming the ocean into a graveyard of metallic sculptures. By noon, the horrifying truth had rippled through the few automated systems still capable of measuring it. The metabolic rate of all carbon-based life had slowed by a factor of 1,000. To the stars, we have simply stopped. But for those of us trapped inside these frozen shells, the ordeal is only just beginning. We are thinking at the speed of light while moving at the speed of a glacier. At the city zoo, Levi stands in the center of the tiger enclosure, a routine maintenance check having turned into a death sentence written in geological time. Suspended in the air, inches from his face, is Khan, a 300-pound Siberian tiger. The physics of the leap are still active, the muscles coiled and the momentum preserved, but the execution is agonizingly sluggish. Levi can see the individual hairs on the tiger's snout vibrating with the immense effort of a snarl that has yet to reach the air. He can see the moisture on the beast's tongue, shimmering like a still pond in the sunlight. He knows with a cold, analytical certainty that in roughly 400 hours, those unsheathed claws will make contact with his chest. He tries to turn, to run, or even to flinch, but his own muscles respond with the lethargy of shifting tectonic plates. He is a prisoner of his own biology, forced to witness his own potential demise with a clarity that no human was ever meant to endure. The true horror of the freeze lies in the sensory disconnect. The human brain, largely electrochemical and less dependent on the mechanical speed of carbon-based cellular transport for its internal processing, continues to fire at near normal speeds. This is the ultimate claustrophobia. You can see the dust motes dancing in a sunbeam for 48 hours, tracing their paths with agonizing precision. You can feel the itch on your nose that will take a week of mental effort to scratch, a week that you do not have the physical capacity to fulfill. Above the city, the sky is full of falling gems, hawks and pigeons drifting toward the pavement over the course of an entire day, unable to flap their wings to regain lift, descending with a grace that is utterly macabre. In the suburban gardens and deep undergrowth, the world of insects has become a landscape of crystalline terror. A garden spider, midway through pulling a silk strand from its spinneret, is now a permanent fixture against the morning dew. It watches as a fly, caught in the edge of the web, vibrates its wings in a low, subsonic drone that will take months to exhaust. The spider can see its prey and feel the vibration through the silk, but it will likely starve long before it can crawl the 3 inches necessary to reach its prize. This is the new stalemate of nature. Hunter and prey locked in a gaze that will last until the seasons change. There is no release, only the long, slow wait for a metabolism that has been decommissioned by the universe. Beneath the waves, the ocean has become a silent museum of suspended violence. A great white shark, lunging toward a seal, is frozen with its jaws agape, showing rows of serrated teeth that catch the dim light filtering through the depths. The water itself moves at its normal speed, rushing past the shark's gills with a friction that should provide life-sustaining oxygen, but the shark's internal systems cannot process it fast enough. It is drowning in an abundance of the very thing it needs to breathe. The jellyfish are perhaps the most haunting. Their translucent bells, which once pulsed with rhythmic grace, are now static chandeliers hanging in the current, their stinging tentacles trailing behind them like frozen lace in a world that has forgotten how to move. The soundscape of this new world is what the survivors call the sonic dissonance, because sounds are created by the vibration of matter, and biological matter is now moving so slowly, the sounds produced by living things are pitch-shifted down into an unrecognizable frequency. A lion's roar is no longer a thunderous warning. It is a groan so deep it vibrates in the earth rather than the air. The humming of a bee's wings is a series of individual thuds, like a giant hammer hitting a soft carpet every 10 minutes. The world has become a graveyard of distorted echoes, where the only thing you can hear clearly is the wind and the mechanical hum of a world that no longer needs its masters to function. Nature is beginning to adapt in ways that mock the frozen giants. While the carbon-based animals and humans are trapped, the simpler forms of life, those less reliant on the specific carbon vibration affected by the freeze, continue their relentless march. Mold spreads across a loaf of bread like a fast-moving green fire. Rust eats through the fenders of abandoned cars with aggressive speed. The non-carbon elements of the world are suddenly the masters of the planet. Even the wind becomes a powerful sculptor, blowing dust and debris against the frozen people, coating them in a fine gray shroud. Within a month, the citizens of the world look like the plaster casts of ancient ruins. Except beneath the dust, their hearts are still beating, and their eyes are still watching, blinking once every 3 days. In the hospitals, the tragedy is amplified by technology that does not know how to stop. Surgeons stand over patients, scalpels held in hands that will not move fast enough to react to a ruptured vessel. Life support machines hum and beep with mechanical indifference, pumping oxygen into lungs that take an hour to expand and another hour to contract. The patients are awake, their eyes fixed on the ceiling, trapped in a nightmare where every second of waiting is stretched into an eternity. There is no way to administer aid. Any chemical must travel through a bloodstream that has slowed to a crawl. The medicine sits in the vein, a stagnant pool, while the mind processes the reality of its own failing existence in high definition. As the weeks turn into months, the infrastructure of civilization begins to crumble under the weight of its own neglect. Power plants, unattended by the slow-moving humans who run them, begin to fail. The lights do not flicker out. They stay on until a mechanical part snaps, and then they vanish, leaving the population in a darkness they cannot escape. Water systems burst as pressure builds, flooding subway stations where commuters stand like statues on the platforms. A man feels the water reach his ankles. He knows the tunnel is flooding, and that he must climb the stairs to survive. But the stairs are a mountain, and his legs are stone. He will feel the water rise to his knees, his waist, and his chest over the course of a long, terrifying week, unable to do anything but watch the surface approach. The psychological toll is a slow, dissolving acid. The human mind was not designed for this level of observation without the release of action. Without the ability to move, the mind turns inward, eating itself. Memories become more vivid than the present moment, providing the only landscape where motion is still possible. People begin to hallucinate, the static world around them twisting into grotesque and impossible shapes. Some find a horrific zen in the stillness, tracing the path of a single raindrop down a window pane for a full day. But for most, it is a sensory deprivation chamber of the highest order, where the only thing they can truly feel is their own heartbeat. That rare, heavy thud that happens so infrequently they forget what the last one felt like. Back in the enclosure, the tiger's claw is now a millimeter beneath Levi's skin. He can feel the cold sharpness of the point, the way it slowly displaces the cells of his chest. In his mind, he is shouting at the beast, a roar of defiance that will take weeks to reach the air. But in the stillness of the zoo, there is only the sound of the wind through the trees and the distant, mechanical groan of the city. He watches a single leaf fall from a nearby oak. It began its descent 3 days ago, and it is only now halfway to the ground. It spins with a grace that is both beautiful and terrifying, a reminder that in this new world, even the simplest acts are epics. He has time to forgive the tiger, time to realize that they are both victims of the same cosmic glitch, and time to wonder if the end will ever actually arrive. The domestic tragedy is perhaps the quietest of all. In a silent living room, a golden retriever is caught mid-bark at a passing shadow. Its mouth is open, its tongue slightly curled, but the sound it produces is a low, subterranean groan that won't reach a human ear for a week. The dog's eyes follow its owner, pleading for a walk, for food, or for a touch that is moving toward it with the speed of a growing mountain. The owner's hand, reaching out to pat the dog's head, has been traveling through the air since Tuesday. By the time the hand finally touches the fur, the dog may have already lost its sense of connection to the world, drifting into the isolation of the freeze. The bond between species, built on the quick pulse of shared time, has been severed by the thickening of the seconds. The microscopic world offers no reprieve. Bacteria and viruses find their replication cycles extended into decades. A simple infection becomes a lifelong companion, a biological standoff that neither the host nor the pathogen can win. A parasite within a host is now frozen along with its meal, both of them suspended in a state of eternal, unconsummated hunger. The very building blocks of life have become a prison. The cells of a leaf, trying to turn toward the sun to capture its energy, take weeks to adjust their angle. The entire plant kingdom has become a series of slow-motion explosions of green, their growth visible only to those who have the patience to watch a single branch for a year. As time stretches, the very concept of humanity begins to dissolve. We are no longer creatures of action, but creatures of pure perception. We have become the statues we once carved, waiting for the breath of time to return to our lungs. The carbon freeze is not a death, but a fundamental transformation of the human experience. It is the end of the age of motion and the beginning of the age of observation. We see the world now as the mountains see it, slow, enduring, and indifferent to the frantic flickering of biological life. The stars move slowly, the galaxies rotate over eons, and now, finally, the world is in sync with the cold, slow heart of the universe. Perhaps, in 1,000 years, when the Earth has passed through this cosmic anomaly and the carbon atoms regain their original dance, the survivors will wake up. They will finish their screams, they will complete their leaps, and they will fall to the ground, exhausted by the sheer effort of existing for so long in a single, unchanging moment. But until then, the tiger remains in the air, the fire remains on the curtain, and the human race remains frozen in a dark, silent thriller. Levi feels the claw break the skin. It will take another month to reach his heart. He closes his eyes, a process that will be complete by sunset tomorrow, and prepares himself for the longest second of his life.